As 2024 comes to a close, it's worth reflecting on both the standout titles like Black Myth Wukong and Final Fantasy XVI, and the disappointments that followed. While games like Star Wars Outlaws and MultiVersus received criticism, they weren't the worst offenders. This video highlights games that suffer from rushed development, cut corners, and overemphasis on microtransactions, resulting in incomplete or broken products. Some games, years in the making, ended up disastrously, leading to financial losses and layoffs. Despite the great releases, 2024 had its share of failures, proving the industry still faces major challenges. So, the 10th worst game of 2024 on our list is Kong: Survival Instinct. Kong Survival Instinct manages the unthinkable. It makes Skull Island: Rise of Kong seem passable by comparison. While not as atrocious, this 2.5D Metroidvania misleads with its branding, as King Kong and other titans are barely present. Instead, players control a generic human battling nameless mercenaries, with only brief, uninspired titan appearances. The combat is clunky, and sparse checkpoints force frustrating repeats due to the punishing difficulty. The bland level design, featuring dull streets and empty houses, makes it hard to tell this is a Kong game at all. It feels more like a low-budget Contra clone. Even die-hard Kong fans should steer clear. And the 9th worst game of 2024 is Alone in the Dark. After the failure of Alone in the Dark Illumination in 2015, the series desperately needed a reboot. Pieces Interactive's 2024 reimagining showed promise, boasting photorealistic visuals and strong performances from David Harbour and Jodie Comer as Edward Carnby and Emily Hartwood. Players can experience the campaign through either character, but the minor differences make a second playthrough feel unnecessary, unlike the dual paths perfected by Resident Evil in 1996. While the game delivers a tense atmosphere, it lacks genuine scares and combat feels shallow. Most enemies can be beaten with the same tactics despite varied weaponry. Though not the worst entry in the series, this reboot is perhaps the most disappointing, failing to fulfill its potential. And on number 8, we have Concord. With a staggering $400 million budget and 8 years of development, Concord was expected to deliver something groundbreaking. Instead, Firewalk Studios' FPS flopped, leading to poor sales, the studio's closure, and the game's rapid demise. While not terrible, Concord was painfully generic. Its gameplay was competent but indistinguishable from other hero shooters, with bland maps, sluggish movement, and uninspired character designs. The game's biggest flaw was its lack of identity in an oversaturated market. Without a clear hook, players had no reason to stick around, and its player base dwindled to under 700 during its brief run. Though not the worst game of the year, Concord is a textbook case of mismanagement. And on number 7, we have Scare Ritual. Made of Scare had its flaws, but its horror elements and atmosphere showed promise. Unfortunately, its spin-off, Scare Ritual, squanders that potential and makes the original look great by comparison. Plagued by bugs, frame rate issues, and poor level design, the game is a frustrating mess. The cluttered interface, with tiny text and constant pop-ups, overwhelms the screen, making it hard to follow the action. Worse, the repetitive gameplay, endless waves of mindless enemies, quickly becomes tiresome, lacking the rewarding progression seen in superior shooters like Doom. Scare Ritual not only fails to improve on its predecessor, but might have doomed the franchise entirely. And the 6th worst game of 2024 on our list is Skull and Bones. The Assassin's Creed series has remained consistent, though Ubisoft's rapid releases often feel repetitive. That's why Skull and Bones, a new IP inspired by Black Flag's acclaimed naval mechanics, seemed so promising. With a $200 million budget and nearly a decade of development, it aimed to become Ubisoft's next big franchise. Instead, Skull and Bones sank underwhelmingly. Despite borrowing from Black Flag, it stripped away the freedom to explore, swashbuckle, or even walk around your ship. The gameplay revolves around attacking vessels and collecting resources, leaving players feeling more like scavengers than pirates. Planned combat and land exploration sections feel barren and tedious, failing to capture the magic of its predecessor. Billed as Ubisoft's next big thing, Skull and Bones ended up dead in the water. And on number 5, we have Taxi Life, a city driving simulator. A taxi-based game might not sound thrilling, but titles like Crazy Taxi and The Simpsons Road Rage proved it could work with personality and charm. Sadly, Taxi Life lacks both. Focused on realism, players must obey traffic laws, manage fuel, and even roll down windows for passengers, making the experience feel more like a chore than a game. While the skill tree and upgrades are well designed, they're undermined by frustrating gameplay, particularly due to poorly programmed AI. Unpredictable traffic and careless drivers often cause mission failures, even when you follow the rules. Though visually stunning and with solid controls, Taxi Life is more frustrating than fun. And the fourth worst game of 2024 on our list is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade: Wrath of the Mutants. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge set a high bar as a nostalgic and thrilling beat-em-up. Sadly, TMNT Arcade Wrath of the Mutants, a revamped port of the 2017 arcade title, fails to capture that magic despite adding new levels and bosses. The 3D side-scroller is dull, with overly simplistic controls and repetitive combat that relies on button mashing. The campaign is shockingly short, clocking in at just 90 minutes with no additional content to extend replayability. While the voice acting is solid, the constant repetition of cheesy catchphrases quickly grates. Released only 2 years after the stellar Shredder's Revenge, Wrath of the Mutants feels like a lazy cash grab, lacking the charm or excitement the Turtles deserve. And the third worst game of 2024 on our list is Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. After over a decade in development and 2 years of delays, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League had every reason to be exceptional. Yet it falls flat with tedious, repetitive gameplay and a lack of creativity in missions, enemies, and bosses. While the squad members appear distinct, they all play the same, making the diverse roster feel pointless. Even worse, Kevin Conroy's final portrayal of Batman is tarnished by a poorly handled storyline. The game's DLC only amplified its flaws instead of fixing them, suggesting the developers should have focused solely on the main campaign. With Rocksteady announcing its final update, it's clear this project was a misfire from the start. And the second worst game of 2024 is Numata. Numata is a textbook case of style over substance. Despite its photorealistic visuals and eerie atmosphere reminiscent of Silent Hill or Outlast, the game is riddled with issues, feeling incomplete and unpolished. Clunky controls, ineffective weapons, and poor AI make the already difficult gameplay frustrating. Labyrinthine levels and the absence of maps leave players lost, while a sluggish frame rate saps any tension. The inconsistent audio, ranging from shouting to near silence, further detracts from the experience. As the game progresses, its flaws worsen, with later sections feeling rushed and barren. While impressive for a solo developer, Numata makes it clear this ambitious project needed a larger team to succeed. And the last worst game of 2024 on our list is Looney Tunes' Wacky World of Sports. While much attention was given to Concord and Kill the Justice League, Looney Tunes' Wacky World of Sports quietly earned the title of the worst game of 2024. Featuring Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and the gang in various sports, it fails on every front. The hitboxes are inconsistent, controls are imprecise, and the loading times are painfully long. CPU teammates are practically useless, making the game frustrating even on easy mode. Worst of all, the gameplay moves at a glacial pace, stripping away any sense of the energetic Looney Tunes spirit. The graphics are simple, yet the game somehow struggles to run smoothly. In comparison, Space Jam: A New Legacy doesn't seem so bad after all. So, which video game of 2024 do you consider the worst? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.